I have an MBA. I have a great job. I have a beautiful home, but I couldn't let go of that shame. That was when I decided this was the story I needed to tell, because I knew there were other women who were feeling that exact same way. I knew there were women who were holding on to their shame. I knew there were women who were probably carrying that heavy load, but didn't even realize it. So that was when I decided to tell that story.
Hey everybody, welcome to Finding the Upside. I'm your host, Maria de Lorenzis Reyes. Welcome to this special podcast series starting today, Real Women, 7 Minutes of Transformation. These presentations were recorded at the Revive and Thrive Summit that we had last year. Each episode that you're about to hear is a part of a larger collaboration. It's a collective of women who came together not just to share their story, but to create something meaningful together. These conversations are the foundation of an upcoming collaborative book project that we're launching later this year. Every woman featured in this series is a contributing author to that book. These episodes exist to share the moments that change us and to remind you that your story matters more than you think. Let's begin.
You should write a book. I heard it all the time. And usually when people said that to me, I would just flash a big smile and say, I don't know about that. I mean, at the time, I was writing a blog and I couldn't even publish to that consistently. How could I seriously write a whole book? I mean, I wanted to write a book like Misty. That was on my list of things to do. But I had all kinds of stories that I told myself on why that was a non-starter. You don't have time. No one will read it. You don't have anything valuable to share. But then a book collaboration gets waved in front of my face with all these other amazing women, powerhouses like Maria and Cassie and all these other women that you've just heard from this morning. Okay, a whole book is daunting, but a chapter, 1,500 words, that's doable. So I was in. In that first book, I wrote about shedding a label that I had carried with me for a long time, divorced. When I was 24, I married a man who was 38, and our relationship was rocky from the get-go. Before our 5th anniversary, we were living apart, and we had filed for divorce. I also wrote about a light bulb moment, where when I was working with a personal empowerment coach, she asked me why 15 years into my second marriage, I was still talking about my first husband and calling my marriage my second marriage. And when she asked me that, I really had to think. I hadn't realized until that moment when she said those words out loud how tightly I was holding on to the shame from that first failed marriage. And if I'm honest, it was holding me back. I think that subconsciously, I felt like because my second marriage was very loving, very happy. I have a great relationship, but on some level, I think it wasn't as genuine because I didn't get it right the first time. I am the oldest of 3, and in September, my parents are celebrating their 55th wedding anniversary. So there's a little bit of pressure there. I have an MBA. I have a great job. I have a beautiful home, but I couldn't let go of that shame. That was when I decided this was the story I needed to tell, because I knew there were other women who were feeling that exact same way. I knew there were women who were holding on to their shame. I knew there were women who were probably carrying that heavy load, but didn't even realize it. So that was when I decided to tell that story. When I started to write that story, I realized something very profound. I realized that I am the woman I am today, and I really like her because I worked through those challenges in that first marriage. That I had put that shame aside. That I did the work. I decided that I was going to let go of the shame and I was going to focus and use my voice and tell my story. It wasn't easy in the beginning, but then the more you wrote it, the more you shared it, the easier it gets. And today, I'm strong, I'm successful, I'm a leader, and I'm a writer. It took a little bit, but I learned, and I grew, and I put words on paper. I used my voice. I stepped into my power, not in spite of my past, but because of my past. I used that power to become a leader in my community. I started to use my voice. I campaigned for a seat on my city's Board of Education, and I won. 2 years later, I was reelected and unanimously appointed as the chair. I've stood in city council chambers, I've spoken in press conferences on TV, appeared on podcasts, and taken the stage to share my voice on things that really matter. I've been able to use that example to advocate for my daughters, one after a wrongful school suspension, and the second after a sexual harassment incident at her job. I've been able to model a really powerful example to my girls. And if you have kids, you know more is caught than taught. For sure. And I wrote another chapter in a second book. And now there's a third. I often hear from people come up to me and say, oh, we wish we could be more like you. They see me advocating in my community, leading, advocating for my kids, speaking out at work, and they say, oh, we wish you could be more like you. You know, we want to have that same effect on people. They feel like I have something they don't have. Here's the secret. I don't have some special superpower that you don't. I learned, I grew, I put words on paper, I started, I tried. I know there are things you want to do, there are things you want to say, there are things you want to accomplish. And I understand the fear and the doubt that you're filled with because I was there too. But I'm going to tell you this, you can do this. You can transform your life into the one you've dreamed of. If I hadn't had the courage to start and to use my voice, I cannot imagine the things that I would have missed out on. And I cannot imagine the things that you are missing out on.
Thank you for spending time with us. Every story you've heard in this series is a part of that larger collaboration, this collective of women who came together to share their real experiences, real growth, and real transformation. Again, these conversations are the foundation of our collaborative book launching later this year. If something in today's episode resonated with you, let that be an invitation to reflect, to get curious, and to consider what part of your own story may be ready to be shared. You'll hear more about the book as we move forward and each episode launches. And you'll hear more about the women behind it as well. Until then, thank you for being a part of this journey and for honoring the power of real stories.